What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm your co-host, Donovan Quick. And after this last loss on Sunday to the Arizona Cardinals, a lot of the fans, including my co-host, Jacob Kelly, has been calling for the Dolphins to begin their rebuild and to begin it right now, including selling some of our highest assets for good draft capital, like Jalen Waddle, like Jalen Phillips, although Phillips can't really trade, but trading guys like that, Teron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg, guys on contract years, and let's just pump the brakes a little bit on it. Let's slow it down a little bit, and let's look at it from a little bit more of a calm perspective. Yes, this team has not been good this season. It just plain and simple. A lot of it has been penalties, a lot of it has been misassignments, and the main thing is we haven't had a backup quarterback worth a damn, and Tua being out really crushed us. It really, really did. And now we're sitting at 2-5, the one game that we actually put up over 20 points, and our defense can't stop a nosebleed. Trust me, I'm as pissed off as all of you guys are. But I want to pump the brakes on this because I want to tell you guys the rebuild is already happening. If you guys noticed this offseason, we didn't really go and spend big money. We ended up, I believe, with like $18 million in cap space after the Xavier Howard money came in. We released Xavier Howard. We released Emmanuel Ogbah. We signed Shaq Barrett for $2.5 million cheaper than Andrew Van Ginkel, which was one of the dumbest things of the offseason. But like, all of that was in part because we wanted to save money to help keep Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa. Liam Eichenberg is on a contract year. Like, we wanted to save money. Austin Jackson is going to be due a contract in a couple years. But the rebuild is already happening. We drafted Chop Robinson round 1. We drafted him before guys like Brian Thomas Jr. and Graham Barton and those guys that have looked really good and like first team all rookie team so far this year. He was 2 picks after Jared Verse, which I know was the Dolphins' top prospect for the edge rusher. But Chop Robinson still has some great qualities. He has really good off the ball speed. However, he has not been good so far. But he was always a project. He always needed a lot of polishing, a lot of improvement in his technique. You go to round 2, we drafted Patrick Paul. That's going to be Teron Armstead's future replacement. What happened when Teron Armstead went down? We didn't put Kendall Lamb there. We put in Patrick Paul. And look, Patrick Paul had a really good season, or a really good preseason. Take that with a grain of salt. Patrick Paul definitely looks like he's going to be the left tackle of the future. You go even further down, we drafted Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright is going to be Mostert's replacement. He already looks better than Mostert. Sometimes he looks as explosive as Achane. Mostert kind of looks like he fell off a little bit this season. Part of it is injuries. I get it. Then you go ahead and you go into the further rounds. Muhammad Kamara, once again, depth at the edge position that we just haven't had. And he's a developmental guy. Look, Andrew Van Ginkel was a 5th round pick. He didn't really come alive until like year 3, year 4. I saw flashes in year 1, year 2, but he didn't really get playing time. Muhammad Kamara, it's very similar. In his first active game, he had 7 pressures and a QB hit. That looked promising. So the rebuild is already kind of happening. It's not a full-on fledged rebuild like what we did in 2019, 2020. It's not like that at all. But it is kind of the right way to rebuild. You don't want to ship off all your assets, especially your young ones. You don't want to ship off Javon Holland. You want to try to keep him. You don't want to ship off Jalen Waddle after you just signed him to a really nice contract. Because, yeah, it's $28 million a year, but over the next 6 years, he's going to be due, the next 5 years, he's going to be due somewhere an average around of like 22, 23 million, including his rookie contract. That is a really good contract for him for right now, especially since you see receivers like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those guys getting paid, or Jamar Chase hasn't been paid yet, but over $30 million. CeeDee Lamb. Like, they're getting paid well over $30 million. Now, I get it. There's a little tier gap there, but it's not that big of a gap, especially when Waddle is your future wide receiver one. How long is Tyreek Hill going to be left in the league? Tyreek Hill right now, yeah, we could trade him to the Chiefs, but we're not going to get anything. Chiefs don't want to send off a first, second round pick because they rather use that pick in the draft. They rather go younger and cheaper. They already got Rashee Rice. They might go get Xavier Restrepo. That's who they're projected to go get in the draft this year. And that's a great fit for them. But regardless, the Dolphins are doing the right thing with how they're rebuilding right now. It kind of sucks as a fan to see the lack of depth and to see, some of our other younger players walk away, like Christian Wilkins, like Robert Hunt, like Brandon Jones, who all look great this season. Christian Wilkins obviously hurt, but they all have looked great, especially Andrew Van Ginkel. Watching him walk away really hurt. That being said, the Dolphins are doing the right thing with their rebuild. It's just a matter of they have to hit on these draft picks. Chop Robinson does not look like a hit so far. He doesn't. But he's developmental. He wasn't meant to start off right away. He was meant to be the third or fourth string behind Jalen Phillips, behind Shaq Barrett. And whenever Bradley Chubb comes back, Bradley Chubb is not only rehabbing his ACL, by the way, he was announced to have another injury, which is what is holding him back from coming back. And our offensive line has greatly improved since week 1. And I know we haven't faced the best defenses, but just seeing the lack of penalties, and they just keep going down each week. From the offensive line, the false starts, the holds. Now, I know we had a pretty bad hold on Austin Jackson, but let's face it, when you have a free rusher to your quarterback that is in his first game back, you're going to hold that guy. That's probably the best hold of Austin Jackson's entire career. Jacob and I actually talked about that a little bit. So, I just want to say, let's trust the process. Let's trust the process, because I kind of like what we're doing a little bit, and I think Mike McDaniel having an influence in these draft picks, because let's face it, besides Chop Robinson, this draft class has looked really good. Like, we signed in the offseason really good safeties, and we ended up cutting our safety that we drafted who looked good. We kept Storm Duck, another free agent, undrafted free agent find by Chris Greer. That's the third one in probably 5 years. You have Nick Needham, Kader Kohu, and now Storm Duck that all have looked fantastic. Cam Smith looks good, and he's going to replace Kendall Fuller next year. It's just it's kind of like we're drafting guys to develop them. Now I think we need to start going after guys that are going to be able to play right away. Maybe not have as high as ceilings with their athleticism, but have that high floor, like a Graham Barton at center. He looks like a first-team all-rookie center right now for the Bucs. Like, we needed that. Although Aaron Brewer has looked pretty good the last couple weeks, knock on wood. He has looked pretty good the last couple weeks. Our offensive line as a whole has looked pretty good the last couple weeks, and it has helped, knock on wood again, that we have been healthy on the offensive line. It's something that we haven't had in the last few years. So having that repetition and that teamwork and that camaraderie on the offensive line is going to help us push down further this season. Now, another reason why I'm saying let's pump the brakes a little bit is because I think 9-8 gets us into the playoffs. You look at this AFC, and it is just wide open. Right now, the Broncos are the 5th seed with a rookie quarterback, no receivers, a suspect offensive line, a really good defense, but they're not special. You have the Colts, once again, not special. They're benching Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. You have the Steelers, who might be legit, but just it's an insane right now. We're currently in 10th right now, a game behind Cincinnati, 2 games behind Indianapolis, 2 games behind the Chargers. Chargers have no receivers. They have no offensive line right now. Their offensive line is incredibly hurt. Baltimore is up and down, but they're one of the best teams in football, and they're sitting in the 6th seed behind the Broncos. Houston has not looked the best offensively. Their defense is really carrying them right now. Kansas City is Kansas City. But this is a wide open. We're only 3 games back of the 5th seed. We're 2 games back of a playoff spot. Of a playoff spot right now. We're 2 games back. That is incredible, considering that we're 2-5. Now, look, I'm not saying that we absolutely have to win this next game, but we absolutely have to finish the season with at least 7 more wins. And that is very, very possible, because let me tell you the teams that we got to go against. We have obviously the Bills this week. I'm going to count that as an L. So 2-6. Rams in LA. They don't really have too many fans, but you know, it is Stafford. He has Puka and Kupp back. That's going to be a close game. I can still see that being a dub. So now you're sitting at 3-6. Raiders, dub. Don't even want to talk about it. 4-6. Patriots, dub. 5-6. Packers, L. 5-7. Jets, dub. 6-7. Texans, L. That's going to be our last loss that we can really have, because then you have the 49ers, who have been suspect. They have a lot of injuries. The Browns, who have been ass, given they looked a lot better this past week and played the Ravens really well, although they always play the Ravens well. And then the Jets again to finish off the season. We need to win 7 of these games. Some way, somehow, we need to figure out a way to win 7 of these games. And honestly, this game this week against the Buffalo Bills has to be one of the biggest games of Tua's career. I'm going to talk about it in a video later today. But the Dolphins, if they can win against Buffalo, that could spark our entire season. That could spark a run. Remember, we were 1-7 in Flores' last year, and we went on a run with Tua, and we almost made the playoffs. If we would have won that Tennessee game, we would have been in the playoffs with Flores. We could do that. It is possible. 7 games at minimum. 8 of these games would be a great thing. But you absolutely cannot lose more than 3 games. And you have some tough teams in here. You have the Bills, you have the Packers, you have the Texans, and you have the 49ers. You have to win one of those, and you have to win the rest. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think I'm right that the Dolphins are building the right way and should keep going with this direction? Or do you think we should just blow everything up? Now keep in mind, we cannot blow it up everywhere. We cannot cut Tua. We cannot cut Tua is basically it. Like, we could trade Waddle for good compensation. His contract is very nice. We could trade Tyreek. We could trade Jalen Ramsey. But Tua is tied to this team until 2028. His contract ain't going nowhere. There are not many teams that would trade for him. And then on top of that, his contract being, the $50+ million a year. And then Mike McDaniel being so tightly tied to Tua, I don't think he's going anywhere until Tua goes somewhere. Mike McDaniel is the key to unlocking Tua. Tua is the key to unlocking Mike McDaniel. And those two are going to stay together on this team whether we like it or not. It's just a matter of if you want to blow the rest of the team up. Deuces.